Ghost in the Machine gremlins are at work again. I think they call them YouTube monkeys or sea monkeys or pet rocks or something like that. Remember that fizzle stuff that we used? Pop rocks. If you swallow too many of those and they detonate in your throat, you're in trouble. So, what a strange food. What kind of chemical was that? So, we're talking about expansion. That's why I mentioned the pop rocks, because pop rocks. Inside the Earth, which nobody has seen, get that straight, is that nobody's been in there, because if you live under the surface, under the layer, like after the first mile or two, and you go down into these secret subterranean passageways, then you'll be able to talk. But since nobody is talking, and it's kind of one of these secret, conjectured type of things, basically, according to my way of looking at things, I think it's possible, but it's not proven. And if nobody puts their minds together and sends out an expedition of the journey to the center of the Earth, then nobody can be talking. Everything is just a theory. So, since, you have to accept that as bold-faced scientific fact, hard science. And we remain open-minded because that is the beauty of science, real science, not pseudoscience, not the people that I'm against, it's pseudo-scientists like Carl Sagan and Bill Nye and them. I'm your science guy. Check that out. Remember this face, not Bill Nye's mug. So, where was I? See, I don't go by a script. This is not well rehearsed. This is just off the top of my head. Can you talk like that? I doubt it. I seriously wager a $1 million bet on that to anybody that can get at the debate table with me and go at it like I can. And you gotta come across like me. You can't do it. There's nobody can do it that way. Now, while I'm tooting my own horn, it's from somebody like me who is going to proclaim that the Earth has expanded. And I've worked out theories and done the mental thought experiments, is what they are. Just like Einstein worked with. It's classic, abstract, analysis. Basically, we have to dispel the first assumption that the Earth has always been the same diameter, radius, to the center. That's a huge assumption, because they're always looking at things out there and they're saying that expands. Like Jupiter expands, the sun expands, the other star over there is expanding. That's a dwarf star or a brown dwarf, and they shrink, and some of them become super huge, the red giants. You hear me? You know what a red giant is. And then it goes, what? It goes nova? Supernova? Okay. So, what exactly is the difference with the Earth? I know they're different, but they're also very much the same. What's going on with the Earth? It's expanding. And it's getting hotter. Where do you think all the radiation is coming from that becomes available out of these materials, the things that are being created within the Earth? So we don't know, because on the surface it is a transitionary zone, but it has all of its own characteristics before you go outwards into the gaseous sphere, the atmosphere. But before you get inside, there's also this is the skin, on our surface or whatever. It's where the water settles. We have a sea level, and everything below that is below, and there's water under the water, and there's huge subterranean chambers of water, and also petroleum, and just all kinds of things. So where's this stuff coming from? If they keep using up the oil, which I believe is greedy and wasteful and disrespectful to the natural order of things, as well as disruptive and outright chaotic and not going to be allowed, is going to be foreboding before I'm through. I will get to that. I've already declared it. We need to do other things that have multiple purposes, because we're going to be wrecking the environment and the stable state, somewhat stable. Then we ought to calculate it more. They're not calculating, they're just have these, desperate, I want to use my Cadillac and drive it across the asphalt concrete jungles that I'm in the Matrix with, a rat race maze. Yeah, baby. Speeding through, riding. Yeah, that's who I am. Sometimes a ghost rider. You see me. You could see that. But why? What does that symbolize? What does that prove? What is that really teaching? What's the myth there? What is the religion? Is it a religion of go freak out, shoot up, get some chemotherapy? Ain't no way I'll ever take chemotherapy. You don't get there. You don't promote the chemical that was begat by the chemical. It's chemical warfare. And nuclear, bio, all this stuff is all basically the same. It all ties into the same thing. I have weapons that you can't even conceive of. And even less so, you would be able to defend against them. And I'm using that right now. So I've just completely blown away the entire geology department, as well as all interdisciplinary, whatever discipline it is, of academia that cannot accommodate for higher, superior logic and critical thinking, rationality, experimentation, scientific inquiry. So I get rid of the assumption. You don't have that assumption anymore. Even Thunderfoot is cured. And who's that other one? I don't know. There's too many of them. Aristotelian, because they forgot to read one of the books by Aristotle. They don't even understand Aristotle. So, we do, though. I want you to, and I am someone who does. Basically, I'm saying that the Earth is gaining, from obviously unseen, undetected forces, which can only occur under the conditions of the internal Earth and the mantle and the core, what they call that, but it's really not even that. They don't have it divided properly. They don't have it. No, they don't know what's in there. It is a generator, like within all objects that are moving and rotating. which pretty much is all celestial orbs, and they spin, and that's what they do. That is what forms a crystalline structure inside, which is planetary scale. So this is something that's in there that you don't detect yet. You only barely, because we don't have a probe. It's not like there's radar that could really go penetrate. You know, they don't even have metal detectors that can penetrate that far, because reading through rock is very difficult. You actually have to get down in there. So when you get down in there, you can start to gather and collect and formulate more data. We don't have the data now. We don't have enough data to discount things that actually make sense, that I'm saying. So with this thing generates a field of energy, and that energy, before it gets released to the surface, into the air, to be read and measured magnetically, north and south and this and that, it is doing other processes within there. That's how it creates heavy metals. It's basically this, like I said, planet scale metallurgic, alchemical thing. These are the, seems to us so magical. But how are all those crystals formed? How are the molecules? How are the minerals created? How is everything? And with the increase of this form, expansion from heavy, pressurized, compressed, like super compressed, how do you think diamonds are formed out of carbon? They don't even really know, because no one's seen a diamond get made. Nobody knows where that's made. Just like we don't know where all the Christmas gifts come from. When we go to the Santa's workshop with all his elves up at the North Pole in Santa Land, that's where they're creating and wrapping up all the gifts that they're going to deliver on Christmas. Santa on his sleigh with all the reindeer. Because until we go there, we don't know how they're made. You get my drift? So, as these things are expanding out, the majority of it right now, of the quicker expansion, the stuff that can be analyzed, is the ocean basins. So you've got these huge expanses, bigger than the continental crust, because the original size of the Earth, by circumference and diameter, radius, is similar to the amount of land area that we have. So if you do the square footage, square miles of that, square kilometers, and you put it back to, the square measurement, square miles or kilometers of the surface of the sphere of the Earth, spheroid, oblique spheroid, then that would come out to the smaller size that we had, anywhere from maybe 250 to 300 million years ago. That might not be that accurate, but that's according to the timeline that is being promoted by the mainstream science. So if 250 to 300 million years ago, that was the surface of the Earth, the land mass probably plus 10%, anywhere from 10% to 20% more than the calculation of the present land mass. Because, see, the oceans have arisen. Water is being created along with the minerals that are getting created. It's all being manifested within the Earth. So the water, and I'm not saying that's the only way water is being, I'm saying all, like minerals, energy, and liquids, including one of the main ones is water. That is what's filling up the oceans with all those minerals and stuff. So, where does the salt come from? I made an entire video about that. Salt was, one of my theories was that they talk about the firmament in the ancient understanding of the earth, that it was encased in like a bubble. So when the firmament fell and came down, to me that could be where the salt comes from. Because the salt could have been like a, cocoon, or, if you will, like an egg that an amphibian would have, that it was out there, and just that thin layer shell up above the other shell could have been like congealed, like when you boil milk too long and it gets that skin, so that outside could have been suspended by a gaseous layer, a gaseous bubble that held it up there, or even created it, because when it touches the outer space conditions of like coldness, different. I don't see it as just colder temperature out there. But anyhow, getting back down to into the earth, the ocean basins have this way of creating. There's two things. There's these edges of it, and then there's rifts, or that create the ridges. Like the main one that we know about is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, going up and down the center from the North Atlantic to the South Atlantic, the whole thing, and that goes all the way up past Greenland, underneath Iceland, and up through all the way to past the North Pole. That's where that comes from, man. That is incredible. And what's happening there is it's stretching open. It's stretching open all the way down towards Antarctica, and it curves around up into the Indian Ocean. So that's stretching out and creating more surface area. That means pressures from inside pushing it out, and as it's getting pushed out with this material, it's feeding up into those cracks. One of the cracks is creating the ridge, so it just keeps pushing it up there all the time, and it solidifies under the water, under our salty seas. It's coming up. It's all volcanic, igneous, intrusive. This is what's going on, man. And the time scale is very interesting. The 250 million years ago is when all this started. The oldest sediments are in several places, and I gotta go into all this specifically. So here's the thing, what I wanted to tell you is that I'm going to probably be pursuing a series to completely make you forget about the Carl Sagan Cosmos series, because it's going to be way better. And I don't know if Discovery can carry it, or PBS, or there's a lot of the new stations that I couldn't really tell you offhand, but I want to create a pilot for this, and it would be like 15 or 20 episodes of 1 hour, taking you on the most incredible journey into science, which includes one entire episode that has at the core of its message, the core of its content, about this expanding Earth theory, which I really believe in. I totally want to convey how plausible it is, how much I feel that it's plausible. I think you get that already. So these things take a long time to unfold, but what's happening over the course of millions of years is how we get the continents positioned the way they are now. The only problem, and this is going to get you for the clincher, the Pangea theory and the Pangea map that they typically give you is somewhat correct, except for the huge flaw that it has in keeping the same amount of ocean area that we have today. You just subtract all that ocean area and redo the map. There you have Pangea. Thanks for listening. All of you real, authentic wizard scientists out there that are part of this future wave of truth. You heard it here first. Internet Global, Entertainment Giant.